Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and we're here today with the second episode of my How To YouTube series. Today we're going to be taking a look at hardware and software, the two essential components that you need to start recording and putting stuff up on YouTube for people to watch and hopefully enjoy. Now, there's a ton of stuff here. This is a pretty thick and sloppy, actually it's kind of nice and uniform, infographic or pictographic or whatever you want to call it, and it has a lot of different things on it that we're going to go ahead and break down for you. We're going to talk about, name a lot of price points, and just help you get a general idea of what kind of money you're going to be looking to spend to actually get into recording and editing and uploading videos to YouTube. Now I want to go ahead and I want to start on the left side of this pictograph, infographic, whatever you want to call it. We're going to call it an image from now on, with microphones. Now, everything you're seeing here, program, hardware, device, whatever it may be, is something that I have personally used, that I have experience with, and that I am comfortable recommending to other people to go out and to purchase. There may be better options, there may be cheaper options, but these are the options that I've worked with that I'm more than happy to say, yes, this works really well, check it out, spend the money, it'll do what you need to do, and it'll do it very well. So starting on the left side, we have two microphone choices. We have the Blue Yeti and the Blue Snowball. Obviously, two microphones made by the same company. One a little bit more expensive than the other, but at the end of the day, both two very high quality mics. I loved the Snowball for a long time. Made the upgrade to the Yeti. It was a really great decision. The Yeti's a wonderful mic. It is on the more sensitive side, but they're both really great mics. And now the price points you're seeing there are sort of the retail, 120 and 70. That's what I can find on Amazon currently. But if you keep an eye out, these are both microphones that I've seen on sale for as much as 50% off. And of course, you could also go out, do your own research, perhaps find a cheaper microphone that is just a good quality, or maybe even find one on eBay, something used that is still in good condition that will cost you a bit less cash. Now, both of these mics by default are mounted on desktop stands. I actually believe the Snowball doesn't come with one at all. You can just lay it on the desk. The Yeti does come with a desktop stand. Now, these are great in the right conditions, but I do want to make a note about this. I was rid of my Blue Yeti desktop stand a very, very long time ago. And one of the first purchases I made was a boom arm manufactured by Rode, R-O-D-E. Also, as a heads up, I will have links to everything that you see here in the description below. All of the hardware, all of the software, to either its Amazon page or its rightful product page. So you guys can click, check it out for yourself if you need to buy it, or if you just want to do a little bit more research on it, you'll be able to do that. But I made the upgrade to a boom arm almost instantly. Main reason being that when my Blue Yeti was mounted on the desktop stand on the desk, the little rubber pad on the bottom of that mount was not enough to stop the vibration of my consoles in this case, my Xbox One, my PS PlayStation 4, and at the time when I bought it, my Xbox 360, from sending vibrations into the microphone, causing this non-stop humming sound that obviously was killing recordings. You can't edit that out. Your recording is done. Start over from scratch, or turn the damn Xbox off, or shove a bunch of cloth or something underneath the Yeti. It was silly, and it was a purchase that I just chose to make right away. Grab the boom arm, $100. The Rode one is very nice. It clamps onto the desk. You don't even have to drill it if you don't want to. And it's just a really great piece of equipment that I can't recommend enough. It allows you to suspend your microphone, which not only eliminates any vibration that would have came through that desktop mount, it also helps you move the microphone away from other noise sources, like a noisy computer fan, a very clicky keyboard, or a mouse. You know, it's a great tool. It's well worth the money, but it is not at all required. You know, you just have to make sure that you put your microphone in optimal recording conditions. It's not going to be affected by things like your cell phone vibrating. That's a very thing that I do sometimes, is I'll leave my cell phone on my desk and I'll forget about it. What I actually do is I put my cell phone on top of my wallet, and that prevents any sort of vibration from being picked up just by the microphone. But again, if you have that boom arm, sort of helps eliminate that issue altogether. It's just a great tool, but it is a lot of money. You may be able to find cheaper boom arms, but you're kind of pushing it there. That's the lowest I've seen a boom arm, is the Rode, for around $99, $100. I've never really seen anything cheaper that looked like it was any sort of reasonable build quality. Rode makes really good stuff, and I will stand by their stuff till the end of time. So that is my personal recommendation when it comes to that. But again, not required at all. Whatever works best for you. I just want to make people conscious of all of those other sounds that your microphone can and will pick up. And of course, when you first purchase a microphone, you want to go through all the steps, doing some research, finding out how to set it up just right. That's a whole nother can of worms that we're not going to get into here. This is really a series just to help people get started. Dive into YouTube head first and start learning for themselves. That's the other big thing I want to preface this video with, is that you're going to have to do a lot of research and learning. I can't sit here and tell you everything there is to know in this video. We'd be here for months on end. I can sit down and I can set the ground for you, lay the basics, and throw you a little bit of the knowledge that I've learned along the way. But you're gonna have to do some research. If that sounds like something you're not into, then you're already looking at the wrong thing, because this is a career, hobby, job, whatever you want to look at it as, that requires a lot of personal effort, personal work, and personal time, and personal research to get to the point where I have gotten, and to the point where other people who are far more successful than I am have gotten. But those are my 2 recommendations. Again, not the end all be all. Do some research. You might be able to find some better choices, but really, the Blue Snowball at $70 and the Yeti at $120. Often you can find these things at like 50% off if you look at the right time on Amazon. Those are 2 great microphones at 2 really great prices, and I cannot recommend them enough. Now, moving on, we have your actual capture software, or hardware in this case, depending on what you actually want to do. If you're looking to capture console footage, maybe you want to do a channel and you know that PC gaming is not for you, you don't even really own a PC, you have a laptop, that's what you're going to use to record, and that's pretty much the end of it. You want to focus on console gaming, the Elgato Game Capture is pretty much the way to go. Again, there are other options out there that are, just as good, but I personally have had a lot of time with the Elgato series capture cards. I had the original Game Capture HD, and I recently grabbed the HD60. It was actually a gift. My wonderful girlfriend realized that I really needed something that would do 60 FPS, and Elgato dropped that thing pretty quickly. It's about $160. You might be able to find it cheaper. The original is only about $20 less, although you might be able to find it used at an even lower price, and that might make it a viable option for you. But if you're looking to buy brand new, the HD60 is the way to go. At $20 more, you're going to have that 60 FPS capability. However, there is something that I want to stress very much when it comes to recording 60 FPS footage. I put that in quotes, on a console. First and foremost, it is very important that you understand when recording a game whether or not it is actually 60 FPS. If you record something with the 60 FPS option turned on and it isn't 60 FPS, when you go to render that thing out and upload it to YouTube, it is going to stutter like hell, or you're going to have some really serious quality issues. The same goes with a game that is actually 60 FPS. Battlefield 4, for example. Battlefield 4 runs at 60 FPS most of the time, being the key word. That game has frequent frame rate drops on either console, and that's going to cause, again, stuttering issues within your video, so you have to consider that. Working on console isn't like PC. You don't get a nice little frame rate counter that tells you how many frames the game is running at. You just have to sort of, notice it. Oh, this game's obviously dropping frames here. This is really going to screw things up. Luckily, with the HD60, you can turn it to 30 FPS or to 60 FPS. You don't have to capture just in 60, but that is something you need to be conscious of. Please do that. Do yourself a favor. Believe me, I made that mistake. My Dying Light video. A lot of people looked at it and were like, why is it stuttering? Because the game doesn't run at a locked 60 FPS. Call of Duty runs at a locked 60 FPS. One of the few games that actually does that on the next-gen consoles, sadly. So those are things to look out for when recording in 60 FPS with a game capture card on a console. Now, the great thing about the Elgato is that you could actually purchase this thing and use it to capture footage on your PC as an external capture device. You wouldn't have to worry about the performance hit that you'll take from using some of these other software programs to capture footage. You will need a second PC to actually be able to capture. You'll need some sort of a laptop, but it is a viable option. I've seen people do it. Maybe not the best, but it is definitely an option worth taking a look at. Maybe it's just something that'll work out for you in the long run. However, moving on to PC capture software, we're not going to talk about PC capture devices. Some people might show up at this video and start blabbing about them. I think they're silly, and unless you're trying to stream with a second PC, I don't see them as being necessary. We're talking about recording footage here, and I personally don't see any reason to start buying a video card, putting it into a second PC, running your PC through it to capture your footage. If you can do that, fine and dandy, go right ahead. But again, we're talking about newbies here. We're talking about people just trying to get into this, or maybe trying to improve their already, really low end setup a little bit. I personally love DxStory. we have a couple options here. We have DxStory and we have Fraps. As you'll see, Fraps is the image with the 99 indicator on there. And you have DxStory. I have been using DxStory for the longest time. I love it. It's $30, dirt cheap program. Same thing with Fraps, around $40. Not bad at all. The lovely thing about DxStory is once you start really knowing what you're doing and you start getting comfortable with recording, there are all these codecs you can mess with to help improve performance when recording. DxStory is just a really great tool at the end of the day. It is more than just a capture software program. It does a lot of other things. Cannot recommend that enough. Now, are you going to have to do some learning to understand how DxStory works and how to make the most of it? Yes, you most definitely are. There's a lot of other things that come into play when you start talking about recording with software programs on the same PC you're playing on. Different hard drives are going to give you different performance hits. There's a lot of other things going on there that you're going to have to learn about. But to get things started, I would definitely recommend DxStory. Fraps is a great option as well. The reason I actually own both of these programs is because that not everything can be captured by Fraps and not everything can be captured by DxStory. They're programs that have been made by human beings. They don't work with every single game that you might decide to play. For example, Binding of Isaac, for whatever reason, I was never able to capture with DxStory back in the day. I think that's since been fixed, but sometimes you just have to hop back and forth. I mean, that's really just, at my level, that's the issues that I've run into. Now, on the other side of things, maybe you don't even have enough money to buy either of these programs, and you're looking for a free option. We can turn to good old OBS, or Open Broadcaster Software. Open Broadcaster Software is originally used for streaming. It's what I use for streaming. It's a wonderful little program, but you can, however, record the file output, meaning you can actually just capture footage with it. You do seem to get a little bit of a loss in quality, but it is still a great program. It records in a much smaller file than DxStory and Fraps, and that is another thing to note. Once you start recording footage with DxStory or Fraps, these are two software programs that record in raw capture, which means they produce massive files. I mean, I'm talking possibly 100 gigs for one file, depending on how long the video is. They're huge files. You're going to need some extra hard drive space, so keep that in mind, or at least you're going to need to make sure that you clear out enough space, because I'll tell you, there's no worse feeling than recording a video, talking for 20 minutes, realizing that DxStory cut out at 10 minutes because you didn't have enough space in the hard drive that it was outputting the file to. So keep a conscious mind about that sort of thing. And at the end of the day, you have OBS as an alternative option. Again, if you're just looking to get into this, you're not really too concerned about, really crisp, clean quality. It's not going to bother you when you see a little bit of, stuttering or pixelization. OBS is still a great option, and in most cases, it works just as well as either of those other programs. You really just don't have that same flexibility that you have with DxStory that I talked about. So a little bit of a recap there. We've covered the voice recording side of things. We've covered the software or hardware video capture side of things. Now, you're going to have a personal choice to, of course, make. You probably already have it made up in your mind if you're considering running a YouTube channel, and that is what you want to do. So you're going to have to look at all these different options and decide what is going to work best for you. And I want you to remember that these are not the end-all be-all. As I've said, there are other programs out there. There are other hardware and software devices out there. Do your research. Research is a very important part of being a YouTuber, of doing anything on your own, let's be honest, or doing anything in life. Research is almost always required. It's very important that you go out and do as much as you can to find out as much as you can to make sure that you're in the best possible place when you start doing this. And also, perhaps maybe that you just save as much money as possible, because that is really the whole other side of this thing that we'll talk about in a later video, is when you actually sit down and talk about how much money you're going to end up spending, or how much you want to spend, or how much you can spend to actually start making this a career or hobby, however you choose to look at it. Now, last but not least, we have our software recording and editing programs for audio. We have video editing programs like Adobe Premiere. We have audio recording and editing programs like Audacity and Adobe Auditions. And we also have video programs like Windows Movie Maker. So I've got a couple different options here, all that I've worked with, all that I recommend, but all of them not that affordable. So if we look at our two options, Audacity and Adobe Auditions, one is free and one is not. Auditions has a lot of built-in tools that are going to be useless to someone who is just starting YouTube. Hell, they're useless to me. I don't know half the stuff that's in Audacity. I simply just use it with a little bit of an increase to my voice, a little bit of gain to just make the things sound a little bit louder, a little bit more clear, and bring a little bit more bass to my voice. And that is something that I've only learned after about a year of doing YouTube. But other than that, It's not really a necessary program, especially when you consider anything that is Adobe is going to require you to go out and spend a bit of cash. I mean, you're either going to have to get a monthly subscription through the Creative Commons, or you're going to have to full out buy software licenses to either of these programs, Auditions or Premiere. And that is not cheap. You're talking the high several $100s range. So let's focus on our free options, because these are two really great options that work just as well in most cases. The number one option for audio recording is Audacity. I still use Audacity. Hell, I'm recording with Audacity right now because Audacity has a lot of great simple tools that you can learn just by doing a quick YouTube search or a quick Google search and a little bit of reading. The noise removal tool in Audacity is great for taking out exhales or perhaps even loud inhales while recording on the mic. They can very easily be reduced. I wouldn't say eliminated, but reduced so that they don't show up in your audio as much. And for some people that matters. To me, it kind of annoys me when I can hear my breathing, so I cut it down just a little bit and it gets it out of the way. Audacity is great for that. And again, it is completely free. The man who works on Audacity is a god, or the woman, I don't even know who does it. They're wonderful. Hell, maybe they're even a robot, but it's free. It's a wonderful program. I cannot recommend it enough. It is just essential for audio recording. Now, on the other side of things, we have our free video editing option. Now, there are going to be other programs out there, but the one that I've worked with, the only one that I've worked with that was free, was the Windows Movie Maker. It comes with Windows. I don't believe it comes with Windows 8. You'll have to download it, but it is still a free download directly from Microsoft. It's very simple, but it lets you render out videos and then export them in MP4 or 1080p, whatever you need to do, whatever you decide is going to work best for you when you upload to YouTube. It's completely free. It's simple. It has a cutting tool. It has some nice little fade-ins and transitions so you can make your video just feel a little bit more smooth. And it's also very easy to drag and drop audio right into that same program and just make everything sort of mesh together. So those are really your choices. Like I said, you can go out and you can spend the money for the license or for the monthly subscription to Auditions or to Premiere, or you can just go with your two free options. Now, at the end of the day, I've shown you these programs. You still have to learn how to use them, and this is where your work starts, because I'm not here to make a bunch of tutorials on how to use these programs. I could do that. That's ridiculous. There are plenty of exceptional tutorials on how to use Audacity, on how to use Auditions, on how to use Premiere, and how to use Windows Movie Maker even out on the internet. I strongly recommend you find them and you watch them. I mean, there's tons of them. I even use them. That's how you're going to learn how these programs work. It's how you're going to learn what to do with them, how to use them most effectively, and how to end up getting the best possible quality out of your content. So when you put it up on YouTube, you can feel comfortable that that is something you've made and you're more than happy to share it with people. Now, I'll be honest, if we're really talking about initially getting into YouTube, all of this stuff is going to be completely overwhelming to you. So you really have to pick a point and you have to start somewhere with the hardware and the software. Not just because of the money, but just because, again, the knowledge that has to be gained. And we're going to talk about this in our very next video. The next video in the series is going to be airing next week, guys. We're going to be talking about you, your personality, everything that comes with expressing your personality on the internet, and also a lot of the personal decisions and the mentality that you're going to have if this is something you're going to want to do. Like I said, I've talked about it in this video already. Knowledge is key. The will to go out and research and gain knowledge is key, and that's what we're going to talk about in the next video. If you guys have any specific questions regarding what I talked about in the video today, feel free to throw them down in the comment section below. As I said before, I'll have links to all of these programs and all of this hardware and all of this software down in the description below. You can check it out for yourself and you can see what it's all about. But this is, again, really not one of the most important videos in the series. This is just kind of a way to help people understand what's out there and what I think works, my personal recommendations to them. The next video is where things really get serious. We're going to start talking a lot about you, and just the mentality that you're going to have if you want to make this an actual job. If this is something you want to make, that you want to do every day, that you want to possibly one day become successful and so that you can make a living off of what you do on YouTube. Once again, if you have any more questions, feel free to throw them in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them, and I'll see you in the next one.